Hello, one and all, and welcome to the May 25th edition of Weekly Manga Recap. As we approach the end of the month, it's time to talk about manga once again. You ready for that, Quinn?
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you ready? Are you prepared? This is such a serious endeavor. We are going to do what we do, the same every week, and talk about comics for children.
Hey. Even Super Smartphone isn't for children. That's an adult series. That's for mature audiences only.
That's not for adults. It's not for kids, but
I'm not sure who it's for, to be completely honest. I guess adolescents, maybe.
I don't. Well, we gotta talk about it this week. So,
or maybe every week afterwards. Who knows? There's a briefcase right out.
Hey,
it's right here. Who knows? We could be talking about it every week.
Okay, so actually, we do have a little.
I hope they can get a GIF of just your one eye, your one eyelid twitching in that moment.
I mean, I do it enough, so. Okay, it's all right. You can do this. You can do this.
Just had to talk about Boruto and Super Smartphone, then you're out.
I don't know which I would rather talk about. So,
if it helps, probably. We don't have to start with either of them.
That's true. And also, there is a bit more like news that's going on in the manga world that has to do, of course, with the stuff that we talk about. There is a new batch of series that are going to be debuting in Weekly Shonen Jump. It was a weird kind of thing where like this is like we've just had 3 chapters of Super Smartphone, and now there's going to be another series that starts next week, and it looks like there might be a couple that are ending and beginning. I said we've got confirmation that Ayashimon is ending.
Ayashimon is ending, and I believe the theory is Protect Me Shugamaru is ending right after that. Unfortunately, I'm behind on quite a few series, so I haven't did that.
You don't know what for.
Did Roboco actually get an anime announcement?
Yes, it did.
Hell yeah, buddy.
Is like, hey, it's not one of my favorites, but it's definitely got its audience, and I think it deserves it. So.
Oh, that's great. I'm sad if I type Roboco anime, though. I get a VTuber. What is this shit? This isn't fair. It is also, I guess, worth noting that Togashi created a Twitter account that has been verified and announced that there will be, I think it's like 6 chapters are supposedly coming. There's not a clear idea when. It could be a while. But
yeah,
if you're a Hunter x Hunter fan, there might be more of it for you, which is pretty cool.
I definitely think that, yeah, if there's one thing that Hunter x Hunter fans should have learned by this point, it is don't count your chickens before they hatch. Even when the series actually does, like have chapters come out, like there's, no guarantee that it lasts very long. I think it's probably a good idea if they plan on, okay, we'll do a few chapters and that's what we'll announce.
I think it's, look, I don't know if I'd call myself a Hunter x Hunter fan per se, although I do like Togashi's work a lot. But I think more than anything, I'm excited to see that he is able to work to a point. I know it's definitely a very creatively challenging thing for him, and that his physicality makes it very difficult for him to write. But he does not want to let this piece of media go to someone else. He wants to finish this story. So I do like that he's able to get something out there. I hope it's being done under the best of circumstances, and I hope his health is very well.
And I hope it brings him a sense of satisfaction to be doing it. Yes. I hope that it makes him feel good to do it. Weird that I'm not saying it's weird that me and Roboco is getting an anime, But when you look at some of the stuff that has been running for a while that hasn't gotten an anime and Jump, it's like, huh.
At this
Well, okay
point,
then.
I'm fairly certain Undead Unluck and Mission Yozakura Family just aren't going to get anime. Like, at this point, it'd be like almost weird to give it to them.
Mm. And then, of course, there's also Mashle. So it's like,
Mashle still might. There's, I guess, the possibility, like, if Mashle really is ending in like a year or so,
mm.
I don't know. But yeah, that's another one that's a little bit strange.
And then, weirdly enough, like everything else that hasn't gotten an anime is actually newer than me and Roboco.
I think
It's so it's
I
what
think
a weird era of Jump we're in, where like everything
I
is
think
3 years old or less.
I was gonna
Like,
say I think like Mission Yozakura Family is like the fifth or sixth most
it's
senior series in the magazine at this point. You're like, that's a baby
uh,
series.
One Piece, My Hero Academia, Black Clover, Jujutsu Kaisen, and then yeah, Mission Yozakura Family. Yeah, the fifth oldest. I mean, not counting like like Bleach is quote unquote running, or Burn the Witch is quote unquote running. So
Yeah, I'm not.
yeah,
I'm not
of the
considering
ongoing
this.
stuff, it is the fifth oldest. Yeah, you're right. So that's so weird. It's less than 3 years old.
And it's a crazy time.
Yeah. But anyway, speaking of stuff that is currently ongoing, let's get rolling with My Hero Academia. It's chapter 353, Endeavor.
Oh,
And
see, it's unfortunate these things don't get, I guess, proofread enough. It says Endeavor. That's clearly Todoroki on the cover, though.
it
Like they must
is,
have put the wrong
yeah.
character on. That's embarrassing. You know, we shouldn't even bring it up. It was probably an innocent mistake. It was probably nothing.
It also looks as though this is the technique that he's been using in action
Yeah.
because the blue and white flames are cloaking over him. So that's kind of cool that it's like, oh, well, the flame is bicolored like him. So
Did I tell the story on the pod? I can't remember who I've told this story to or not. It was a month ago after my brother passed. My sister got a package from the company she works at, and
no, the only thing in relation to this that I think you've talked about is the burritos that you ate
okay,
too many of.
yeah. So, my sister got essentially. We came back from doing like errands and stuff like that, and it's been like 4 days or so. And there's a package from her company on like outside her door. So she's like, I have no idea what this is. And she opens it up, and I'm like talking to somebody else. Like I think I'm talking to my dad in the living room. And my sister comes in. I was like, what was in the package? She's like, the box lid for a thing of pretzels, and it still has the price tag on it. So clearly they bought her a thing of pretzels as like a bereavement gift. But then whatever intern was doing it took the lid off and then just
Well, this is the only thing that's got the shipping label on it, you know.
they just
Here you go.
My sister's like, so not only do I not have pretzels, I just know how much they cost, and I have the lid to show it.
I know what we'll do. We'll give the person who literally has no sense of social cues or like traditions and stuff be in charge of setting up bereavement packages. It's like, well, huh? Well, there's this shipping label on this rope, but they inconveniently wrapped it around a bunch of flowers, so I better undo it and send them that, and then I guess I'll throw the flowers away.
It's the notion that somebody was like, oh, we don't want to send the lid. That'll be tacky. Or we just send the lid, and then it's kind of funny.
Look, we don't want them to see, look. We don't want her to see the like how much we spent on it. That's a little bit weird. So just get rid of that. Okay.
Well,
Oh hey, pretzels, sweet.
yeah, some intern was like, dude, free pretzels. Score one for the big dog. What's a Mikey?
God, that's so weird.
If it helps, my sister actually had to ask the company. I was like, what was this? And they were like, we're so sorry.
Yeah.
They just gave her like $100 gift card to Uber or something like that. To like, we're sorry. I don't know how that got fucked up like that.
2 weeks later, like the cardboard wrapping for the gift card arrives, and there's no gift card inside of it. All right, so this chapter of My Hero Academia. Hey, Shota Todoroki has beaten Dabi, and much celebration is had. Not really; they're still in the middle of a battlefield, but everyone's like, "Yay! We've gotten a big boost of motivation because he beat the guy." Yeah, and all the other random heroes are like, "Oh, let's take down this big Nomu thing or whatever it is. Yeah, let's do it." And they're like, We're doing it because there's not a lot of strong villains here. Cool." And news gets back to the command center where All Might is, and he is like brought to tears over what's happened. I mean, it's a pretty big, emotional moment. So. But they're like, "Hey, this is a big victory for us. It's good." And the news also spreads to the other squads as well. And we see Ashido's group gets the good news, and Mount Lady is there. And he's like, "Oh man, the way he's got his head in the clouds had me worried for nothing. I love that kid." Which I think just kind of goes to show she doesn't really understand the kids in Class 1A very well, and she only got impressions of them from that one lesson that she helped teach, and that is it. Which I guess is pretty realistic. So, some 90s comic book guy with a metal skull mask with a tube coming out of it. He's I guess in some sort of leadership role among the Tartarus villains, and he's like, "Oh, so we had this. This was all a ruse on their part, pretending to be scattered and without unity. But they had several dozen heroes stationed here, prepared to go on the defensive." Why did you think they were pretending to be scattered and without unity? I don't know if anyone willingly gave that impression.
By the way, this character is actually Mr. Eats a Giant Twizzler Man. His superpower is he just eats a gigantic Twizzler. Kind of in a revolting way. He just kind of unhinges his mouth and just chomps down, kind of like a snake. It's kind of like mythology. The Twizzler never ends, so his task is truly never done. But, some say that's why he's a villain. God has abandoned him.
I'm trying to think of a good pun, but the only one that's coming to mind is like Aurora Vines or something like that.
It's a good one.
It's about as good as I can do it. Anyway, but he's still talking big shit. He says, "Oh, they've squandered all their resources. The era of liberation is at hand. These purveyors of falsehoods will be crushed beneath our boots, just like that UA school teacher."
Oh, he's the one who killed Midnight, maybe.
Maybe, or he was there or something.
Or I heard about it. I don't know. Midnight. Yeah. Remember her.
Remember, she was like the one person who died in that particular battle that we had any connection to at all. But Ashido hears this, and I think she's making a face like she's going to kill this guy, because like she's not making a distressed face.
I am not sure what happens in this scene, because Ashino is like, "Good job, Todoroki did it." And then like an entirely separate conversation with Mr. Eats a Twizzler guy happens. And then he references Midnight.
Yes.
And I guess Ashino hears him and is reacting to it.
Yes.
And then Kaminari shows up and the scene ends.
Kirishima,
yeah. And I'm like, was he gone? What was he doing?
He makes reference to an escort mission being done. And there's been a lot of stuff going on in these past few chapters since they split everyone up. There are, by the nature of this being a massive wide-scale battle, a lot of characters involved. There may have been a reference to what Kirishima was doing prior to this. If so, I do not remember it. I'll just own up to that. But Kirishima makes a little bit of a let's go get him speech. He's like, hey, Todoroki just showed everyone what a dude he is. Literally, he says that. Now, made reference here to, I don't know how Ashido is reacting. There is an even weirder thing that happens immediately after this. So we cut to another area where there's fighting going on. Where there's like some sporting arena. And Sato and Ojiro are like, hey, we'll celebrate after the battle is over. Yeah. And then it cuts over to Sero, who is given a word bubble that's going ellipses. And you can't see his face because of his helmet. I have no clue what is going. Why did you cut to him?
Maybe it's supposed to be mysterious. Like maybe he sees something they don't, and like we haven't gotten the dividends to that quite yet.
Maybe Aoyama wasn't really the traitor. Maybe it was actually Sarah.
Man, how fucking funny would it have been if at the end I almost like I was just happy for the attention you guys were giving me, so I went along with it. But Sarah's been the traitor for years, dude.
So, look, there is this thing among many big fans of shonen manga in particular to overanalyze every single little detail of every single chapter. And I'm not going to try and get into what does this mean? But if this was here and it wasn't for any purpose, I don't really know why it was done. Like it seems very random. I
have to assume all these things are meant to pay off, but I don't think we know enough about these characters to know what the payoff is right now. So right now it just seems like, again, why does Ashino stare at this bad guy? Why does Sero have ellipses there? Like, I do get it that this seems to be a chapter where the class of 1A is kind of rallying behind Todoroki's victory. So that makes sense. So when there are characters who do things that aren't them rallying behind Todoroki's victory, you're just like, what are they doing? Why is this happening?
You see, you're being a real bummer right now. Come on. I mean, I get the Ashido thing a bit better. It does seem as though she's reacting to the villain. I don't know what Sero is reacting to. Is it people say like, let's go win and then celebrate? Is Sero just like, oh, we're all gonna die? Or like, what is going on in his head? Anyway, I'm gonna drop it. We're gonna move on because there is other stuff at work here. So Aoyama is with Fat Gum. And they are staring down one of the Tartarus escapees, Kurieta, who looks not unlike Scarecrow from Batman in terms of like general posture, and like he's got all these kind of bits of rope or straw or something tasseling off of him.
This dude has an absolutely awesome character design. Like, this dude looks so fucking cool. I wish he had been in this series for years. Like, this design fucking slaps, and I feel like I'm gonna be really disappointed when next week Aoyama just shoots him with a laser, his head explodes, or whatever happens.
Yeah, I could have seen like this guy being all for one, even like, it's cool. It's a cool villain design. So, and he talks. He basically calls out like, no, I see what you were trying to do. Yeah, your priority was, to split up the primary fighters on our side, and as for dealing with us dregs, you planned to improvise on the spot. But why did you, plan on doing that? Were you just like trusting each other? Were you just hoping things would work out? Such things, invisible to the eye, coat this planet like an oppressive membrane. Yeah. What is this dude see?
They threw me in prison for weird metaphors. Apparently that's a crime.
He also refers to Dictator's failure, and he says, my turn never came around, but now I can demonstrate my utility to All for One as one of his assassins. And we're all going to come after you, Yuga Aoyama, the Bat of Aesop. What is with the way this guy talks?
It's awesome. Everything about him's dope. He's hanging out in a giant butterfly flower patch. It's fucking awesome.
Oh, man. Yeah, so... is there a bat in one of Aesop's fables?
Oh
A
yeah,
bat
remember the
could not choose
one?
sides in a potential war. When Pete, oh, that's pretty good. All right, I'll take that.
Damn, I was gonna have to make one up on the fly. I was like, well, there's the story of the bat who flies a rat across the river, and the rat just is kind of like needy and asks for a cookie and then like a glass of milk, and then like wants a bedtime story, and then the bat just drowns him. But because of the weight being dropped, the bat loses balance and also drowns. I kind of combined like 6 stories into one, and everyone dies at the end.
If you
Oh,
carry
and then the bat's name was the Giving Tree. That's the twist at the end.
I'm going to kill this thing. All right. All right. Time for another confusing element of this chapter. So, President Mike, the battle that he's at, he calls out that, hey, Shoto beat Dabi. And Shoji is at this battle site, and he's like, hey, good on that guy. And then he has to dive to, I think this is President Mike, because it's the only other hero we see in this one scene. I think he pulls him out of the way of a giant spinner.
Yes.
He's huge now. What happened?
All for One modified him.
I guess.
That's what we can even see. It's Dobby saying like, I don't need any of that crap.
Power. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Spinner's really pissed off because like there's no way that Dobby actually lost. This is just like information warfare against us. And yeah, he recalls Dobby rejecting getting any powers from All for One. Well, and then All for One going, give me your face. But Spinner's really pissed off now, and the word everything is inside his mouth.
Which is a choice. I don't know if it's a good choice. I don't know what narrative decision it was to place everything inside of his mouth. I understand where everything is important in the context. Why his mouth? I don't know. But it was a decision that was made.
Yes. And he just kind of rallies the troops that are around him and says, hey, they've locked up Kurogiri. We're going to take him back. Let's demolish the system that's oppressed us. And Shoji is there. And I think that there is something that I think is actually pretty, like, okay, there's a reason that Shoji is here. He is the big mutant guy in Class 1A. He is squaring off against Spinner and his army of mutants.
Yes, that is a very significant thing.
Okay. But he does actually...
is a good narrative choice. I don't know about everything inside of Spinner's mouth, but that was a good narrative choice.
And he gets like, I don't know. There's not been a lot of Shoji moments in this entire series.
He had a little period to shine during the Vanguard training camp.
Yes.
And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
But he says that he's proud that he made it into Todoroki's class. It's like, oh, that's nice. We cut over to Shoto and Ida, and we had a little moment where he's like, well, maybe Ida will do something. And Shoto's like, your engine's stalled, right? Sorry.
In fairness, I kind of like it. Because at first I thought he was just like, oh, you fucking, your engine's stalled because you suck. And I'm like, oh no, his engine stalled because he just froze the surrounding landscape and it probably crushed his fucking engines. And then now it has to like, recover. And I was like, all right, Ida's like, hey, don't worry about that. The collateral damage isn't important right now. What's important is you stop this very bad threat.
And Dabi is beaten. And so some of the heroes go to move his unconscious form. And they're like, oh man, how is he still alive in this state? And we zoom in on Dabi's charred chest. And something is glowing right above his solar plexus. Okay. I'm assuming that something's going to happen.
Oh, it was his eyes. No, I guess it is something in the middle of his chest, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Maybe a bomb?
Maybe. Wouldn't be the first time that All for One's been like, there you go. So, and word has also reached the site of the battle between Endeavor and All for One, where Hawks is also there. And Endeavor is like staring at him, and All for One's like, what does that face imply? Affection? Grief? You refuse to take a good look at God, your font is impossible to read all for one. Stop trying to be cool. You're not cool. But yeah, he's like, oh, look at you trying to be all Mr. Big Shit. This is why you lose. And then he extends his hand, and each of his fingers has a different quirk manifesting in it, which is a pretty cool sight.
Yeah, I like that one of them is manifesting into like sort of like a cancerous thing with a face on it. Like, this is my shitty power. Nub nub.
Isn't he adorable? Utterly useless in battle, but he's so cute.
Look at him. I just want to feed him. You can't. Oh, God. Food gives him pain. His existence truly reminds us to embrace the joys of life. I thought it was a fine chapter. Yeah. Like, I do like the idea that this was a big moment. Todoroki took down one of the most significant characters in the army that is not really a rally. Like, it's not like exactly like a turnabout or anything like that. The war kind of hadn't been going on long enough. But it's this rallying point of like, hey, this is one of the biggest fighters that All for One side had. And one of the UA students took him down. And that's a huge thing. Like, I do. And everyone from UA reacts to it. Everyone's like, yeah, fuck yeah, Todoroki, except for a couple characters. But like, yeah, everyone's super pumped. I thought that was an awesome move. It really did sell the impact of that moment. But yeah, there are a couple points where you're like, I'm not exactly sure what the scene is meant to convey. Things like that.
Maybe it will mean something more later. We shall see.
Yes. In the meantime, we will cut over to Undead Unluck number 111 in Trust. Nick, do you need some time?
Keep going. That's okay.
Nick is, by the way, killing a bug. For those of you who are listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, Nick is firmly focused outside of this, following a bug, so he can murder it with what I believe is essentially pure alcohol.
It's very close to pure alcohol, yes. And it's gotten into my water now.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll go get some new one. Or drink it and go wild, you know? Life is for the living. Good face. Undead Unluck number 111 in Trust. So we opened with a flashback of Rip explaining to Latla his plan. Like, I'm going to go through the loop, get a second chance at her operation. I'll have someone else do the surgery. There's not going to be any holes. This will work. And Latla's like, well, what about Ragnarok? Even if you do save Layla, it'll still happen. And sorry, Latla is who I meant to be saying.
Right.
And Rip's
they have like, very similar names. Yeah. Yes.
And Rip's just like, I can't help but wonder if it's fine if we all die in Ragnarok. You know, as long as we all die together. This is a guy who really only like it's the pain that's in his heart right now. It's what's kind of carried him through this. He has all these feelings for Layla, and he's fine dying in the apocalypse if it means she doesn't die at his hands and everything like that.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's the tragedy of the character that has caused him he has been set on this path by the cruelty of God. You know, he's got tunnel vision and he doesn't see the option that is truly the good one because he's so dead set on this one thing that he experienced. So
I like it a lot. So we cut back to the present as Andy floats down to where he basically murdered Rip 2 and he's bringing down Latla. So that the two of them can spend their last moments together. And as he's leaving, Rip just says, it's hopeless. I know what you're thinking. You're going to try to fix everything in the next loop. And he's like, look, I figured otherwise someone as soft as you would have never taken things this so far. You're going to save everyone, get them to join you, and somehow become bosom buddies and take down God and get the good ending, right? And he's just like, yes. And Rip just starts laughing. He's like, there's no way you can pull that off. Not by a long shot. We're all in this sorry state because what you're aiming for is impossible. And you know what? Are you going to save Layla for me? Huh? I'm telling you, it doesn't work. I'm going to try to save Layla anyway. You are not going to be able to stop us on that day. And Andy says, I will change it. If I couldn't, there'd be no point in taking the loop.
And there's a very cool framing of the images as he's looking at Rip, because you get a full body shot of Andy, and the bottom of the page is Rip's face. So Andy's body, his legs are in between Rip's good and bad eye. It's very cool.
Yeah, and you can see so much more emotion in his damaged eye in that moment as well, as it's kind of crying more blood. Uh, Rip sits, he sat up at this point, and he just kind of says like, "All right," like he just kind of resolves himself to it. And Latla says the date of the surgery. It happened because of her fortune telling and Rip performing the surgery. I'm begging you, please change her fate, save her. Andy just disappears basically. He kind of Goku like jumps away, but it's with blood, so it's like
Yeah. It's pretty gross.
We get the confirmation that basically the way it all happened was Andy was able to talk to Lucy, and she pulled the card out, which got Victor out. But I want to cut to the actual end of this, which is Latla and Rip dying together. Where,
yeah.
They kind of watch Andy leave, and Rip just says, "Next time, let us join your group." And Andy jumps off and rides a motorcycle away.
Well, hold on. He says I'm not sure if he's responding to what Rip says or he's describing what he now does, because he says sick. Wicked sick.
I think he's saying like in response to that, because he said it loud enough for him, and it was Andy just be like, "Wicked cool, bro." So Rip and Latla laying on the ground basically just say like, "So I guess everything we did was for nothing then." Latla's a little bit more optimistic. She's like, "Was it? We managed to entrust this task to him, and if you hadn't decided to fight, we'd have never met those two. So in that way, your actions did change fate. That the idea that you fought is the only reason why there's any chance that she's going to survive." So it's, in a way, it's kind of affirming that. And he's basically just like, "All right, cool. It wasn't all me. You were there, Latla, every step of the way." And then Rip dies. And Latla says to his body,
while Latla is like cupping his cheek, and they're right next to each other. Yeah.
And she just says, "Good night, Rip. You've always been so cool." And Andy is on his blood motorcycle driving away, saying there's no turning back, and he's up at Union. Wait, you see Rip. And there's also a note that he has a conversation with Lucy about her mom, kind of dodging the conversation of just like, "I'm sure she's gonna be all better, kiddo." Now, granted, when Andy comes back to this, or I guess when Andy does it, it's gonna be Fuko. When they do it, hopefully they'll be able to save her mom like soup. But I guess Andy didn't have to murder the little girl. He doesn't have to be that kind of Reaper.
I feel like if he had to kill Lucy, we would be like, "I don't know if we should trust the fate of the world to this guy."
But yeah, I mean, it's an intense chapter.
It is. Yeah, it really feels like we're ramping up, and it's like, okay, I don't think that there's much else that we can actually do in this loop. It feels like, okay, we should just, if there's going to be another fight, it should be a fight purely for the sake of, okay, this is, if they get past this point, then they're setting Fuko on the arc. Like that should be it. Because I feel like after that whole big confrontation, it's like, okay, that's you've basically reached what feels like the climax of this sequence. So,
I guess she does give him a kiss.
Maybe it's hard to tell from that angle.
She has something. Rip has something like. It seems weird because it seems really small, but she does seem to have, or he does seem to have like lip marks around the corner of his cheek.
He does look like that. I mean, it's hard to tell because he did have smudges on that area of his mouth before too. Yeah. But maybe it's. I think it is meant to be ambiguous. Yes. So.
All right, Nick. You know what's not ambiguous?
How
much everyone hates Boruto.
Boruto. Number 70 from the bottom of my heart. And we get this picture of Hamato imitating my feelings. All right. Last time, everyone was under the influence of Ada and couldn't do anything, but Shikamaru had a plan. "Hey, Ada, why don't you just join Konoha? Then you could hang out with Kawaki without having to kill everyone." That's a good point.
Yeah.
So Ada looks at Shikamaru, and one of her eyes goes "Shkeen," uh, and Code is like, "Hey, what are you? No, this is bullshit. Don't you abandon me here." And he says, "Shut up. I'm thinking about it."
Yeah.
So Ada looks at Shikamaru, and he's like, "What is she doing?" At that moment, Naruto is trying to get into the room, and he hits the console. He hits the code into the console to open the door, and it goes bang. And Naruto,
for a hot moment, this was like a 90s SNL skit with Rob Schneider. He hit the code, and it goes brrr, and it don't open. Oh no, Naruto, all your friends are dying.
So he, with mental communication with Ino, goes, "The door won't open." And Ino says, "Sorry, guys."
Did you try turning it off and turning it back on?
Yeah.
Like, I wish you just distracted him with tech support.
Did you enable your cookies?
Yeah. Are you in admin mode? No, you're not in admin mode. That's probably why it's not working.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Control Alt Escape. And then to the yeah. No, you don't need that to run. No, you need that to run though. Don't force quit that one.
How much stuff do you have in your startup screen? No, it's too much. That's why your computer's always so slow. So let's delete some of those.
Disable some of those. Naruto, you don't need all of those. You don't need all of those search bar extensions on Internet Explorer. Yes, I do. I like it this way. It lets me automatically search 20 different websites without having to go to the website first.
You know, he makes a good point. Naruto's actually kind of onto something. People should be allowed to have as many tabs open as they want, and they're not a bad person for it.
Naruto, why do you have all this adware? Naruto, how many porn games have you been playing? Yes?
Yeah, like, this is not a computer. It's the land of sounds computer. They left it here as a trap. They planned. They're revived. Man.
Ion. Who was it? Damn it. Oh, fuck. I wish I remembered Sound Ninja names, because if I could, then I would try and make some sort of joke about this. But it's already gone. It's already gone. Move on.
Zabu or something like that, or
something like that. I think Dosu was the weird guy with like all the bandages over his face. Anyway.
Team Dosu. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. Let's talk about this instead of this. Dosu, Zaku, and Kin.
Zaku, right?
Yeah,
that was the guy's name with the busted up arms. I was going to do a thing, but like the timings are all ruined now. I was like, he needs the arms. Never mind. So okay. So Naruto gets in contact with Shikamaru through Ino's mental communication ability thingy. And Shikamaru just says, "I don't have time to explain right now. It's a delicate situation. Don't interfere. Don't destroy the expensive lock system and force your way in here. The village's budget is already shrinking every year as it is." Excuse me? The village's budget is shrinking every year? Naruto, what have you been doing?
I like this weird insight. The idea that there are some real financial hardships going on at the very top of Ninja Land. Like the idea that they have kind of like second cut security. It's like, we can't afford it. Like, come on. Like, where's the money gonna come from, Naruto? Taxes?
Kinemura invented a lightsaber that nobody can use. Do you know how much that set us back? So, Sasuke and Boruto also arrive. And Ada turns to look at Shikamaru and she says, "Huh, the Hokage and others are stuck outside because you told a colleague to lock the door to protect them from my ability, didn't you?" And Shikamaru's like, "She knows what's going on, but how? That left eye of hers lets her see, I see." And then Amado talks to Shikamaru through Ino's communication ability and says, "It's called Senrigan. She can see what's happening anywhere in the world." And it's not limited to current events. She can view past occurrences too. You can't hide anything from her, for the most part. And so she's looking at him, and Shikamaru says, "But it seems like she can't overhear these conversations of ours, so she must not be able to peer into our hearts. If we didn't have Ino's jutsu, brr, it makes me shudder."
What makes me laugh is so they're having this entire long fucking conversation in the mental world. But for everyone else who is not present, these two are just dead quiet staring at each other for like a minute. They're just like straight up just looking at each other. Code's like, come on, do something.
Can we just kill them? And Ada's just like, I'm thinking about it. Shut up, Code.
No, let the moment breathe.
This is what
Shikamaru, I'm going to come for you next.
Is what most public speakers don't understand about presentation is you need to give your sentences time to have an impact. You can't just rush on to the next thought. You've got to let the moment. Sit there. So I'm so sorry. This is so bad. So Ada says to Shikamaru, I kind of figured that you just like treat me as an enemy right away. But yeah, I guess maybe we don't need to fight. And Shikamaru says, yeah, but if you continue helping Code, then you will be considered Konoha's foe. So come on, Sir Code, which side's the better pick? Take a good hard think about it. Honestly, she really shouldn't need to think this long about it. It seems like if she is motivated entirely by just selfish purposes, I don't know why she even thinks about Code for this. There's going to have to be something revealed for why she sticks with him, because I don't buy that she does.
Yeah.
We cut over to Kawaki's hospital room. Sumire is like, "Oh, so you killed Boruto, huh? But it's okay, because he's not dead, right? Yeah, I'm sure you were forced to make painful decisions. Huh." And then Kawaki stares at his hand, and he's like, "That bastard Amada restored my karma without my permission. I think it was when you..." And Sumire is like, "Yeah, he did repairs on you before. I guess we didn't, pay attention to what he was doing." Oops.
Oopsie poopsies. What are you going to do?
But Kawaki admits that he did want the karma back because he was weak without it. And he's like, if I didn't have this, then the Hokage would be dead. It's the first time I was grateful to have this power from the bottom of my heart. And I realized that I need it. And he's staring at his hand too, all melodramatically and stuff. Sumire points out, hey, maybe Amado's just manipulating you. Maybe the reason why he's so hung up on your karma is for his own purposes. Gee, you think? Maybe he's not entirely trustworthy? Thanks for that. Meanwhile, Code is like, I'm bored now, digging his fingers into Amado's shoulder and stuff. He's like, remove the freaking stuff on me! Give me my power back! And Amado is screaming in his head to Shikamaru like, I can't take this. And Shikamaru points out, he says, straight up, he can't kill you because he needs to have his limiters removed. And if he kills you, he'll never get his power back. He won't kill you. All he can do is torture you. As soon as you remove his restraints, he is going to kill you because you'll have served your purpose to him. So don't do it. But even so, Amado's like, but I'm being tortured. I might die anyway, brr.
I mean, I thought that made enough sense. Where he's like,
that makes sense.
I'm considering it, and he's like, look, yeah, I get it. It would suck. I'm gonna die anyway. This sucks so much right now, though. Anyway, this fucking blows.
It makes sense why in the moment he's like, but I might die anyway. So I don't know if I can bear this. Then Ada is like, oh, I see something. Code, we have to go. Because Kawaki's coming. And everyone's like, wait, Kawaki? But the door to this room's been sealed. But he has Sukuna Hikona. he could be planning to shrink himself and enter via an air vent. Which no other
That's the Ant-Man
ninjutsu
theme
would
song,
allow.
by the way.
No other ninjutsu could possibly allow anyone to get through an air vent. Definitely.
It's just not scientific. How would you do it? Huh? What other ninja art allows you to shrink down? There's only one.
So
there is something very, I guess novelty is the word, that they're like, he could have shrunk down and gotten into an air vent, and then it cuts to him doing that exact thing. And I really wish it had like cut to him and it's him like about to dive into a toilet and being like, I hope this goes underneath that room.
Or he like tries to go into the air vent, but he doesn't trick himself down first, so he's just going like,
Hey,
lube me up, Boruto. I gotta go in.
Boruto, not in the room. He just assumes he's behind him. Lube me up. Give me a push.
Sumira's right behind him. It's like, we're in the hospital. We're nowhere near the building that you need to be in to sneak into that room. Do you want me to like pull up Google Maps like and to get you directions or something? It's like
No, Boruto told me technology is evil and never helpful.
Boruto plays video games all the time.
He said those are the only exception. That and forms you can use to yell at minorities you don't like. Those are the two good things the internet created, he said. And I believed him. He's my bro. Why would he lie to me?
Boruto Anon. All right, so
he said Dosu's coming back and he's going to lead Konoha to a new future.
He said that the last Hokage election was rigged.
Naruto died in the Great Ninja War. Dosu's been impersonating him for years. He's finally going to reveal himself.
The QB is a lizard.
Like, Clock, I think we need to get you off the internet.
We never went to the moon. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure that's how Naruto and Hinata got married. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
Did it happen, or is it just a movie? Because the movies aren't canon, except they are.
Oh, okay. So Code's like, oh shit, Kawaki is coming, and he'll kick my ass. And Shikamaru thinks to himself, like, that's right. Kawaki can nullify Code's claw marks, so they fear getting their escape route cut off. But Amato goes, that's not all. There are exceptions to who Ada can entrap. One is a blood relative, and the other is Osatsuki. Yes, so Kawaki would be big trouble for them. However, didn't Ada want to meet Kawaki? Why is she running away from Kawaki? I don't understand. What is this character?
This makes
what
a
are
lot
her
of sense,
motivations?
Nick, when you think about it.
Okay, show me the way.
So
I believe. I can believe if I'm shown the way.
So here's how it kind of works. She, as an Ada,
okay.
has dumb brain, which is a condition that happens.
Dumb brain.
Yeah, dumb brain. Where sometimes you try to think, but you don't think too good, and you do the dumb thing instead.
Oh, I do that all the time.
It goes part and parcel with her powers. She can, enchant anyone she sees and see anything anywhere all at once. Great movie, by the way. That's the sequel, by the way. Anything, anywhere, all at once.
I'm looking forward to getting to see it. It's going to stream soon. So
yeah. And because of that, it goes part and parcel. Well, sometimes you just forget that your goal was right in front of you. So that's what gets Code and Boruto, or Code and Kawaki kind of together, or Code and her together, is they both fuck up that when Kawaki is nearby, they don't just grab him or do whatever they wanted with meeting him. It just doesn't happen. So, it all works out.
So in this moment where Amato has been being tortured by Code and he was in such horrible pain that he was like, I might break. I'm going to break at any moment. He's now staring very soberly at Shikamaru to explain that Ada's powers won't work on Kawaki. And Shikamaru is shocked to hear this. It's like, oh, you mean that anyone who's got the Otsutsuki powers would be immune to Ada's ability? Why didn't you tell me that before? And Amato's like, if I had, you would have summoned Kawaki here right away to have him fight them. And Shikamaru's like, yeah?
Probably.
And Amato says, give me a break. I can't afford to have Kawaki die. He almost died last time. And that was without Ada. Yeah, but he didn't have his Otsutsuki powers awakened then. He started ripping their asses open as soon as he did. So, but I was like, I won't let you risk him like that. Shikamaru, Kawaki's presence has got to be a headache for you. I don't blame you. He was a seed of trouble for Konoha, and now not even Lord Hokage can check his powers any longer. If I were in your shoes, I'd be thinking it'd be most convenient if Code or Kawaki or both died fighting each other. And Shikamaru's like, you're way out of line. And he was like, you guys suck. Stop arguing.
Again, another great conversation that happens as like two people are just staring, being like, fucking, what's going on?
Why can't they have this conversation out loud? Like, what would be so bad about Code learning any of this? Ugh, whatever. So Amato says, Code and Ada are planning to retreat, so let them. Don't even think about stalling them until Kawaki gets here. And Shikamaru tries to stall them until Kawaki gets there. But oh no, Code just like is like, and just lightly shoves Amato very slowly through a hole. And he is, oh no, I'm falling through the I'm falling. I'm falling through the claw mark. I'm falling through the claw mark.
I've fallen through now. Oh wait, my toe's still in there. My toesy.
So Code's like, yeah, bye everyone, and just kicks him the rest of the way through. Ada's like, hurry, Code. Kawaki is almost here. Again, why does she not want to meet Kawaki? The one thing she wanted to do. Shikamaru manages to catch both of them in his shadow possession. He's like, oh no, I'm not gonna last. Kawaki's gonna get in here and stop them. And Code says, fool, you want to die that badly? And Shikamaru's like, hey, come on, Ada. What's wrong with meeting Kawaki? Why are you so bashful? And Ada just says, Delta. And Delta's like, what is it, Ada? And she says, I'm in a bind, so can you help me? And Delta looks at Shikamaru, and Shikamaru's like, oh, come on, please, no. And she starts kicking at him, so he has to release the Shadow Possession Jutsu. And he's like, what are you doing, Delta? Get a grip. It's like, you know what's going on. You just had an entire chapter to explain what's going on with her. 2 chapters to explain what's going on with her. And Ada starts going through the portal very slowly, and also feet first, so that she can say as she's leaving, we'll be parting ways here. Thanks for the offer. Let's meet again. And thanks you too, Delta dear. I love you. Bye. And Delta's like, I love you too, Ada. And then Code starts to very slowly go through the claw marks. And he says, I really don't like provoking extra animosity. But, Nara Shikamaru, I've decided to add your name to my retribution list. So prepare yourself. Yeah, that's right. I keep a list of all the people I'm going to get revenge on because I'm so cool.
I'm very cool. It's a cool thing people do. It's definitely not something they stop doing when they're 18. When they grow up. It's a thing that cool people do forever.
I don't actually know how old I am.
You want to know who else is on my list? Oreos. Double stuffed was a step too far. After that, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They know what they did. After that, you.
As in the letter U. But then...
Oh, I hate that letter so much. It always trips me up.
I don't know. It's like people keep on putting it into words to like extend the O sound. I never know when to use it or not. And oh no, I just used it. Damn it! U starts with U. But then you, as in the person you're
also Wednesday. I don't know how to type it. Is that like how? Is there like why you don't say Wednesday? It's like Wednesday. God damn it! You're
Also,
tripping me up.
Also, February. That first star shouldn't be there.
It's bullshit. Everyone knows it's bullshit. They're like, look, I didn't say everyone on your list wasn't without justified. Kill February. It's fine. I'm okay with it.
Please do. Please kill the entire month of February, please. Yeah. Anyway, Code leaves through the portal after Shikamaru tries to talk big to him, like, get lost already and never show your mug here again. All right. Mister, you couldn't do anything.
I love
that
Code's last line is,
Also, his mouth is through the portal already. How is he talking to him?
I'm sure that was him trying to talk, and it just came out like...
Tiny Kawaki comes through the vent and then enlarges and is there. But oh no, it's just Shikamaru and Delta left in the room, and there's just a claw mark there. And Kawaki's like, that bastard, he was here, which is actually a detail I like. He had no idea what was going on. He just wanted to go and talk shit to Amato and find out why he did this to him. I actually like that. And Shikamaru says, hey, can you destroy the claw marks so that he can't come back in here? And Kawaki's just like, yeah, anyway, I got to talk to Amato. But Shikamaru says, oh, but he might already be dead. And yeah, Amato is now in the secret base. And it's everyone's favorite character. There he is. It's Damon. And he's like, hey, old man. And Amato's not pleased to see him. Bugs in the background. Code picks up Amato and he's like, give up. Unlock my powers. Take away my limiters. And Amato says, will you kill me after I take away your limiters? And Code just stares at him for a beat and says, probably.
I just like that. Like, yeah, well, he's honest.
So Amato shows that he has internalized the advice that Shikamaru gave him, the warning he gave him, to not unlock Code's limiters. Because if he does, he has no protection against him. The only thing keeping him alive now is that Code can't kill him if he wants to have the limiters removed. So he's like, I'm not going to go along with you. I'm just going to get killed. There's no sense in that. And Code's like, well, yeah, but you'll be freed from pain and die in peace. And Amato's like, yeah, but I mean, you might kill me while you're trying to torture me. Then you'd be in trouble. And Code's like, shut up. So Amato says, yeah, you're not in control of your emotions right now. You're not going to be able to control yourself. So listen, I have a simple offer for you. I'll remove the limiters for you, so don't kill me. What the fuck is this?
I am not going to beg for my worthless life. I am going to beg a little bit for my worthless life, though. Just a little bit.
So he talks to this big game. It's like, oh, you won't torture me because you might go too far. So how about this? I'll give you what you want. Please don't kill me.
He's got to have some angle that we just don't understand.
So Code calls him pathetic, asks if he has any pride, and Amato says, I have no interest in such utterly useless concept as pride, so let's stop wasting each other's time, Code? And Code's like, you've always got a comeback, don't you? Just do it, instead of engaging in idle chatter. The way you were doing with Shikamaru. I know what you were up to, just because you weren't moving your lips, your mouth. Shut up. So Amato says the code phrase to remove Code's limiters, which is, there's no dress code.
Oh, get it? Because his name's in it.
It's Code. There is a literal puff of smoke as Code's limiters are removed, and his hair is standing up now to show he's stronger.
Nick, please. This transformation has so many more layers than that. His eyebrows are now... Nope, they were always like that.
His hair is white now.
Damon
says this.
His eyelashes are more pronounced. That's a big thing.
They are.
I like to think power-ups in Boruto are going to be like Dragon Ball. Oh, they just kind of get progressively more erratic hair, except they're like,
Yeah.
well, we don't want to do that, so ours is eyelashes. So like, Code's level 3 has like fucking Medusa tendrils of hair just shooting out.
So
What about
yeah.
me, Ben Stein? Do you have lenses for my special eyes?
So Code's got superpowers now, and also the karma on his hand is white too because he's super strong now. And he says, "It's nice feeling like I can't lose to anyone," which I'm pretty sure is how he felt when he was first introduced. But whatever. Ada and Damon are just like, yeah, okay. There's no visible reaction from them. So now,
He looks like a shitty fucking goblin and like, meh, meh. Like I imagine, like this looks like a shitty '90s cartoon goblin.
God, this villain trio. It's so weird that Ada's the best of the three because she's not good.
No.
But Coates says this. Neither of his compatriots react in any way, shape, or form. There's just sound effects in the background. And then Code turns his attention back to Amato and says, "Forgive me. Your wound hurts, doesn't it? I feel good. So let me free you this instant from your suffering." And he rears back with his claw. Now, we don't see him kill Amato. But this is...
I would love if Amato was like, but we promised. You said you wouldn't kill me.
I had my fingers crossed behind my back.
Oh.
So the cliffhanger we end on is Code going, "I didn't say... you didn't say Simon Says." Like, there is no guarantee that the next chapter won't immediately start with Code being like, "I'll heal your wound because I keep my promises," or whatever. Like, we don't know. But come on. Why would you end the chapter like this on this cliffhanger? It's like, "You'll kill me if I do this." Yeah. Okay, but what if you don't? Okay.
I didn't promise
my power. I'll kill you now.
It's like the scene from Simpsons where Chief Wiggum is letting the guards out for the game. Like, all right, you guys can leave prison for the day to come to the hockey game, but you have to promise to come back afterwards. Like, well, no. Like, all right. You don't have to come back to jail, but you can't commit any crimes. No. I'll take that as a yes. Yes, let's everybody out. It has to be that level of just stupidity.
All right.
We spent a lot of time talking about
I'm tagging out. I'm done on that.
You're done. Let's talk about Eden Zero. This is going to be relatively quick because actually not a ton happens in this chapter. This is 192.
Yeah.
Weiss versus Killer. So last time Weiss walked into a hospital room, saw his dying mom. Oh no, she's alive, but we know it's not. And Weiss picks that up pretty quickly and slaps something. And he's like, "Oh yeah, just a hologram, you are." And Killer shows up. It's like, "I didn't think you'd figure it out this quick." And Weiss actually manages to shoot him a little bit because he like remodifies the room and causes an explosion that blows up Killer. And like, cool, it worked. And Weiss is like, so it'll only work if you have machines by you. What if I get rid of all of them? And they're in the danger room, basically.
What if I just put us in a room that is entirely mechanical because this is a hologram projector room?
No, Nick, that's not how it works. Those are bath tiles. They're ceramic. That's how it works. Weiss is like, activate robot mode, and just starts shooting him a bunch. And then he just has his machine basically deactivated. Weiss tries to modify him himself. Killer is like, I have a power that says you can't do that. And then sort of deactivates Weiss's robot arsenal suit. And then he goes to kill him with his scorpion tail, which is like a sentence that gets no focus. And Weiss blocks it by going into overdrive. And I know he's gone into overdrive before, but it was so unspectacular and unremarkable the first time. I thought this was new the first time I saw it. And it's also not notable here. Weiss just basically punches him
Basically, yes.
Man, it really does boil down to
He
everyone
punches him super hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
he punches him really hard. And then a test tube, like a cryo tank, basically like enters up through the floor, and Killer smiles, and Weiss's mom is in there, and he's like, "Oh, I already know it's hologram chick. Ain't gonna work on me. No, it ain't. It ain't. Pip pip." I think he's actually supposed to be Australian, but they're all the same. Take that, everybody.
Take that, everyone but me.
Everyone sucks but me. Yeah. That was probably.
I feel like I would like. I feel like I would like Hulk Hogan way more if amongst his myriad of catchphrases, one of them was just "Everyone sucks but me, dude."
Everyone sucks but me, brother.
It's the sheer honesty of his thoughts.
That's gonna be his next book. Anyway, the killer just goes on to explain, like, oh, your mom died from an unknown cause, but it was actually Draken Joe draining her body with his ether gear stuff. And they're like, yeah. It's like, what if she didn't actually die from that? What if you didn't actually bury your body? What if instead they stole her body and worked on it scientifically? And in the process of doing that, they found a way to bring her miraculously back to life. And Weiss is like, oi, no. But because of that...
it's impossible.
Yeah, but because of the possibility of it, he's now not able to fight back because he has to protect that tank. So Killer's like, aha, human weakness. You'll never defeat me.
I like this idea in theory, which is, okay, well, you know, obviously this is false, but it's just believable enough that there is a tiny amount of your mind that thinks, but what if it is actually what's happening? And so that amount holds you back. That's a good idea, especially for someone who is, you know, an illusionist of a sort. But the way that it's laid out, like, you know, the explanation comes out very clunky because it's just like, but what if? And but what if? And but what if? It's like, it does... You see, like, you know, when people come up with like crazy theories and then they lay it out this way, and it's like, well, it's not believable because you keep on bringing up how doubtful it is by the way that you word it.
Yeah.
So it comes off as clumsy. The best thing about this chapter, title page of Pino leading ducks across the street. It's very cute. So
yeah, I assume next week Shiki will free himself, fly into the room. He will suck up Killer's memories, find out he had a touchy moment with Hermit at some point in his life, and everyone will be like, oh, is your mom back? But then because this is Eden Zero and this is darker, she will actually be dead, and Weiss will maybe have to kill her again or something to show that this is a dark, serious story.
And she too will have a bomb in her butt. So
yeah, that's actually just a medical procedure in this world. Though, like, you know, to make sure.
It's all the rage right now.
You just kind of put them up there and see what happens. This is one wacky doctor who's like, what if you put a bomb up your butt? do you really think that'll fix my broken wrist? Couldn't hurt.
Oh, all right. Let's move on to Akane-banashi. It's story 14, The Type to Hold a Grudge. Last time, Akane got the advice to go and seek advice from Kogama Ani-san because she's got to do Jigama, an old and very well-known Rakugo story that everyone's familiar with. And so Kogama, he knows the old literary teachings better than anyone, so that's why they're going for it. Gurika says that Kogama is also a former Tokyo University student, so he's also incredibly well read and studied and stuff. So that's a little bit more of his background. Yeah, so they're like, hey, let's go hear what he has to say. I'm sure it's going to be helpful. And Kogama just said, we cut to them, and Kogama says, no. No. And Akane's like, well, can't you help me, please? No. Look, I don't know why you're entering this amateur competition when you're already accepted here. It's trashy. It's unacceptable. It's unbelievable. It's baffling. And each of his words are like stabbing Akane in the head because it's so harsh. And she's like, "Wow, it's really weird that he's like this." I didn't get this impression of him at all. Um, and he then like just goes to turn away and says, "Your education's Kyoji's job, not mine. What makes him think he can slack on his duties?" And Akane says, "Hey, why are you referring to your senior so casually and rudely?" And Gurika's like, "No, no, no, no. Koguma is his senior. He's actually older than him, even though he looks like Koguma looks like he's in his like early 20s in a way." So Akane is shocked to hear this, and she's very, very sad about this. Koguma sarcastically says like, "Oh no, no, go back to your to Kyoji Ani-san," like he's the younger one. Um, but Akane just says, "Look, I just want to win the Karaku Cup," and she shows Koguma the flyer, and he starts to say that he doesn't care, but then he spots that Arakawa is going to be the judge, and it catches his attention. And he's like, "All right, I'll help you. Like, I've got a performance later, so let's make this quick." So off screen, he hears out her explanation, and he says, "Okay, to start with, show me how you perform Jugemu, just right now, so that I know what advice I need to give you." So we get a brief explanation of what Jugemu is. A child is born, and basically the father gets this list of potential names from the priest for his son, and he thinks that all of them are great and lucky, so he gives his son all of them. And so his name is too long for me to take the time to try to pronounce. Like, it would take up, I think, a full minute if I tried to say all of these in a row. And I know that that is the entire point of this Rakugo story, is just hearing and seeing someone say this name and rattle it off in various emotional ways without missing a beat. But so Akane says it, and she says the full name, and Gurika notes like, okay, her enunciation is good, and she's got, a good rhythm. But at this level, it's not going to be good enough. And she keeps on proceeding through it. She hits the first joke, which is that oh, poor Jugemu, hit his head, but you took so long saying his name and reacting to it that the lump went away because it took so long to say his name. So Koguma, claps his hands and says, "Okay, yeah, really good job. I can't believe you just did that whole thing in public." And Akane said, "But you said you wanted to see my performance." "Yeah. What I meant was, if you had like a video of you performing it, you could have shown that to me." But hey.
It's an amusing little gag. Just him being like, "I didn't think you were going to perform it in public in front of me. That's different."
I kind of gets all embarrassed and stuff, and she's like, "Why didn't you stop me?" But importantly, Koguma says, like, "Yeah, this is not good enough. This is a basic, it's a fundamental Rakugo. It's the first story that beginners learn, and the majority of the audience is going to be familiar with it, and a lot of them are going to be Rakugo amateurs, meaning most of the audience is capable of performing it already. They've learned it by hearing masters do it. They know how it should sound. You're going to need to perform the same piece twice for the same audience on top of that. If you want to win the cup, you need to do something difficult that gets a variety of laughs from people, and this is not the performance you got to do." And Akane says, "Well, yeah, but I'm sure that Master told me that I had to perform Jigemu for a reason. I mean, I know it seems like a big hurdle to overcome, but what do I do? Do I just work on enunciating it better?" So Koguma asks, "Do you know the original sage, the original ending to Jigemu?" And Akane's never heard that there is an alternate ending to it. And he says, "In the original ending, Jugemu dies. As Jugemu gets older, he goes swimming in the river with a friend. They lose their footing. The friend is able to call for help, but his name is so long that in the time taken to call for help, he drowns. The name meant to bring the child good luck is the cause of his death. Originally, this was an ironic story about how you can have too much of a good thing." Well, that's dark. It's just a story that little kids like to recite now. What the fuck? This is the most grim fairy tale ass backstory I've ever heard.
I feel like all stories need to have that. Every story I've ever heard needs to actually have like dark, sad origins. Like someone's like, the actual Winnie the Pooh is about an imaginary friend who goes on a murder spree at the end because he was forgotten. 100-Acre Woods used to be 1,000-Acre Woods. Pooh took out a lot of it.
Oh, bother. There's a rumbly in my tummy.
Silly old bear, they used to say.
Not who's silly now, motherfucker?
Cocksuckers.
All right. So Kuroda asks Akane, look, aren't you interested in these stories? Don't you want to understand what you're doing? And I also had another thought about your Rakugo just now. When you repeat the name, you're just making sounds, syllables. They're not words. So that's my advice. Think about what I had to say. Study hard and often, lest it slip through your fingers. And Akane kind of stares at him for a minute, which seems to catch him off guard. And she says, oh, I mean, I appreciate it. I was just wondering, though, why you're being so helpful when you clearly didn't want to help me before. And we just get one shot of Akane's father kind of leading a young Kuroda around a bookstore. And it's like, oh, yeah, they had the same master. So he would have been his senpai. And Kuroda just says, it just turns out I'm the type to hold a grudge. That's all. And that's all you need. They thank him, and then Akane says that she's got one last request, which is that she wants to observe Kuroda's Rakugo. And so they go to that one he mentioned, that performance he mentioned he had before. I keep on saying Kuroda instead of Koguma. My bad. So Koguma, gets set to perform, and Guriga says, I don't know any Rakugoka other than Koguma who would delve so deeply into a single story the way that, he just did now. And you can learn a lot from his performance. And you'll also find that he's a completely different person on stage. And we get this full-page spread of Koguma as he comes out in his Rakugo attire. His hair is slicked over. He's not wearing his glasses. He looks like a totally different character. Like, if you were introduced to him outside of this context, you would never think that they were supposed to be the same person. Great transformation. And that's where we end the chapter. We're going to get a demonstration of Koguma's Rakugo now. Cool.
Yes. It's a good chapter. I do like the introduction to this character. I thought it was a cool way to introduce him, to give different things. And, I do like how the end just shows how different he is on stage. I'm curious to see him perform actually next week.
Yeah. And I really, really like the moment that you just show, like, oh, he used to be a little kid learner who had a senpai too. And Arakawa ruined that. He kicked that guy out of his life. So that sucks. So
he's a real jerk.
Let's move on to Blue Box.
Blue Box.
Chapter number 53. Doing great. It's all good.
Everything's great.
We get a flashback to when Taiki lost his badminton match. And he's thinking about that as he's practicing, basically. And, hey, he's doing a good job. And everyone's like, geez, Taiki, you got better again. What have you been eating? And Taiki says, I'm not eating anything different because he's kind of boring sometimes. So, but then they talk about Yusa from Sajikawa and how he won against a player from the Japan Laster team, which I don't know exactly what it means, but it has something to do with like a national ranking of some sort. I don't know enough about high school Japanese sports terms, though. But anyway, yeah, he's really good. And so then Taiki calls out to the guy he just beat in the practice match, and he's like, hey, let's play another game. The cool senpai guy trying to be a cool senpai guy is enduring planking for losing a match. And while he's planking, others are stacking badminton things on top of him, which is like, okay, I guess it's gotta be a good plank, I guess. Anyway, uh, they talk a bit about how Taiki doesn't acknowledge himself very well, but he's still practicing improving. And there's nothing worse than working hard and not recognizing your own growth. Yeah. Okay. Then we see this was such a weird thing to see introducing a scene, which is Taiki saying, "The shine on this apple is great." Completely removed from context. It's so weird. It's one of the props for the Snow White play.
It took me a moment to get it because they say I bought a fake one in a dollar store. And I was like, a fake apple? Like, why is the shine on it so good? And I'm just dumb. It took me like 2 or 3 times. It's like, oh, they bought a fake apple and repainted it, and the shine's okay.
Yes.
I get it now.
But it's a very weird part of that very simple conversation to be introduced to. And it's like, what's going on? Oh, that's what's going on. I wonder if it's just delivered to like grab your attention and be like, wait, what the hell is this? Oh, okay. I actually now kind of sort of care about this apple prop being done well.
That's my sole investment in this story at this point. Apple for waifu now.
Chinatsu or Hina? Apple.
Apple.
Look at the way Taiki is so lovingly admiring it.
It's a fake from a dollar store, but it's maybe the most beautiful of all. Mm-hmm. I like rags to riches stories.
So Taiki asks where Hina is, and they say, oh, she's in the classroom practicing. So he goes into the classroom. Hina's by herself, and she's pushed some desks together to act out the Snow White being dead scene. And when Taiki sees her, he sees angels gathered around her as if she's dead. And he says out loud, "She's dead!" And Hina literally opens her eyes and while still lying down, glares at him and says, "I'm not." Fuck, you weirdo. And she explains that she's practicing, and she says, yeah, so this is the final scene where Snow White is, dead, but then she wakes up. But I don't really know how I should be acting during it. So Taiki paused for a minute and he says, well, I'll practice with you then. This way it'll be easier to visualize how it goes if you have someone to do it with. But then he looks through the script and he's like, all right, the prince kisses her to wake her up.
I feel like they immediately do that, because the cheesy one would have been like, I'll just read it with you, and they get to the scene, kiss immediately for the front. He's like, oh, right, wait, no, they kiss in this. That'd be weird, right? Or being like, I don't know, would it? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So there is a very brief moment, and then it's like, okay, we can be mature about this. And then he engages with Hina and is like, okay, so what's confusing you about this scene? And Hina says, what kind of face would someone who just came back from the dead make? All right, that's a good question, actually. We're so used to the story of Snow White that you don't really think about that particular detail a whole lot. Yeah. And Taiki's like, oh, yeah. And I mean, there's also the fact that she was tricked by the evil queen into eating the poisoned apple. Yeah, can you imagine if Snow White knew that? And Hina imagines the scene of this, and she's like, oh man, that queen fucking is happy that she killed me. I'm gonna get her. No, that's not Snow White. You can't go on a murderous rampage if you're Snow White.
Not unless America McGee does it. Then you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Taiki says, oh, how about this instead? When she wakes up, Prince Charming is there. So then her heart skips a beat, and he immediately goes, who the fuck is this guy who just molested me in my sleep? To which Taiki responds in a great way, too much stranger danger. Okay, let's not go that way. So Hina's like, look, this is the iconic scene of this story. So how do I act it out? I feel like I'm gonna ruin this. How do I do this? She's muttering to herself, and she equates it to maybe it's how you feel after you've completed a big test, which is all right. That's one way of looking at it, I guess. But Taiki compliments her and says I feel like you could really pull this off if you didn't overthink it so much, but you're actually really worried about it. You're focusing on the script so much. You know, if it were me, I just kind of like grin and bear it, basically. But Hina says, when I take something on, I want to give it my all. Same as you. And Taiki has no idea what she's talking about because he's an ignorant little dunce. And Hina explains, you know, 1 minute you're doing stuff for the play, you're at badminton practice the next. You're also doing a lot. You're doing great. And then there's an awkward moment between them. And she's like, everyone says that about you. Everyone says that. Shut up. So they say, all right, let's practice. And she lies back down. And she's okay, you know, just, you know, let's do the scene right before my line, and then we'll just do it from there. So Taiki's like, okay, you know, I'm dealing with a lot right now, but if I can do my job, then I'm glad. So he, you know, acts as the prince and says, oh, Snow White, please, Diebug, please wake up.
That's what he said, Diebug, ew, gross.
Just like the scene where he sees a fly buzzing over Hina.
Just smacks her face. And of course, she's asleep, she can't react. So it's like, oh, it's like, sorry, there was a fly on your nose.
It really was. So Taiki says, oh, please, Snow White, wake up. Okay, you're kissed now. And then there's just this pause. And Taiki says, Hina, are you acting right now? And Hina's like, no, and she covers her face in embarrassment. I just imagined if I really did kiss you. And Taiki gets embarrassed because she's embarrassed. And then he stares at her, and because she's covering her eyes, he's staring at her lips. And then she lowers her hands, and Hina says, you want to do it for real? While she's madly blushing. And there's not really any fan service in this series, but holy shit, is this like really erotic all of a sudden? And yeah, I think that you really feel the tension between them in this moment. So it's well done, if nothing else. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure nothing's going to happen next chapter.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I zoned out for a moment. Yeah, I mean, it's a little cute. And, you know, I like Hina because she just keeps pushing things forward. And it's good. It's a good little chapter.
Yes. Anyway. Doron Dororon.
I'm going to go and get a drink. I don't want this to seem indicative of me leaving for the quality of a chapter or anything. I just happened to be this one, maybe the other ones. But if you blaze through it, it's fine. I have no thoughts on this chapter, Blue.
Okay. Chapter 23 of Doron Dororon. I don't want to lose you. We open the chapter with the best moment in it, which is where Tora basically wakes up Dora by just sneaking into his bedroom and going Dora, 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 Dora until he wakes up. And then he's like, oh, now Tora, did I oversleep? And now Tora's like, Kusunagi's gone. We have to go after him. I don't know where he is, but if Kusunagi's colluding with other Mononoke to betray us, we'll have to eliminate him. Which pisses out Dora a little bit. He's like, there's no way that that's happened. Something else must be going on. We cut out to where Dosan still just has his arm wrapped around Kusunagi. And Kusunagi's like, so what kind of Mononoke attacked you? Dosan, who killed my best friend in the Mononoke world, but definitely won't try and kill me? And Dosan just says, oh, I got attacked by a Mononoke that's been attacking lots of humans around here. Give me your blood! And just immediately goes for it, starts draining Kusunagi's energy. And Kusunagi says, this is the same thing that happened to Namezo. I was tricked. I really am a fool. Well, you said it. He apologizes to Dora. Dora shows up with now Tora. Dosan's already draining Kusunagi, but he's not dead yet. Now Tora's like, oh, Mononoke, and starts to charge in. And Dosan's like, don't move or Kusunagi dies. And they're like, well, what do we do? And now Tora says, I mean, if we do what he says, then he's just going to kill all of us. We got to do something. And there's a chance that he's in cahoots with Kusunagi.
And Amato says, no. What if I strike a deal?
Why don't you drain my blood instead?
You can have a little blood, and then you have to pinky promise not to kill me.
I want to reiterate that Kusunagi is being drained of his life force as they speak. And Dora just like, let's debate about this topic before and settle the argument before we do anything to help him. I know, I'll throw my sword in the air and distract him. Become a fan! Ha! And he jumps in, grabs Kusanagi away, and then he punches Dosan. And Naotora catches the sword and she slashes at Dosan. Oh, but she barely hurt him. And then there's fog everywhere. It's Dosan's supernatural technique. He escapes into the fog and they can't sense him. And then a giant Cyclops Mononoke shows up. And yeah. And Kusanagi's like, I'm sorry, Dora. I'm a fool. I walked into a trap. And Dora's like, yeah, I'm really pissed off at you. Don't do that. I don't want to lose you. And Kusanagi cries. And then Dosan says, Kusanagi, how dare you trick me? I told you to come along, but you brought Samurai with you. And Kusanagi's like, oh, no, I didn't mean to. It's like, he tried to kill you, Kusanagi. Stop being so easily manipulatable. So, and then Dora's like, don't talk about my friend like that. How dare you try and hurt Kusanagi? I'm going to cut off that long nose of yours and kick your butt. And then they go, let's go beat him. Okay, so we done?
Yeah.
We've got another really important chapter to talk about immediately after this. So no, hang on. The actual good chapter is after that. I got my letters confused around.
Yeah, there's a good chapter next.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
This chapter was a physical thing that existed. All right, let's talk about. I know. Let's have podcasters postulate pretend performers, poetically phrased performers perpetually, or something like that.
Anyway, I've got a puzzle for you, Quinn. I did not have this ready until like 5 minutes before we started the episode. I completely forgot about this, but fortunately, I had one sitting and waiting. Okay. So I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll see. Primitive pseudonym. Phrased, and I swear this is a word, palindromically proves perilous.
I just have to remind myself what a palindrome is. Is that the same thing backwards and forwards? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
primitive pseudonym phrased palindromically proves perilous.
Huh. Something that's spelled the same forwards and backwards.
It's not spelled the same forwards and backwards, I will say. But you are on the right tack in seizing onto that. Yes. Okay.
So there has to be some connection to how it's someone manipulating the way a word. All right. Well, let's actually think primitive pseudonym. Caveman, Neanderthal, dinosaur. Dinosaur. Luchasaurus. Is it Luchasaurus?
I will say that the word primitive is describing the word pseudonym.
All right. Proves perilous, was it?
Proves perilous, yes.
Proves perilous. Zack Ryder from when he got pushed off the stage in a wheelchair.
No.
I was just gonna see if it proved perilous. I was gonna figure out the rest.
Oh yes, Ryder spelled backwards. Redier. I don't even know if you're familiar with this performer because I'm not really.
Which promotion is it?
This is TNA/Impact.
Abyss?
No.
I might be stumped here.
Have you heard of any performer in TNA where it is important that their name spelled backwards means something?
Oh, isn't there something with like either Rosemary or Young Sue or something like that?
No, I have no idea about that.
Or like a reverend or some shit like that.
So I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. I think that I reached too much for this one, but I did it for basically a meme, which is there is a performer, not a performer even. There is a title that several performers have used, which is Relic, which is killer spelled backwards.
Wow. I've
Which they
never
said
heard.
on commentary all the time, basically.
They wanted you to know.
Yeah. It's Rellik, which is killer spelled backwards, and they say Relic.
What's very amusing to me is I typed in Relic, and the first thing I get is a British crime drama that clearly used the same gimmick of it's called Killer Backwards. Like, there's multiple people who are like, what if we call it Relic? Why would you do that? It's
and of course,
backwards, baby.
Like, and of course, it removes any sense of like you're kind of think it's clever because they keep on hammering you over the head. Like, look at what we did. See, it's
it was Johnny Stamboli.
One of them was apparently, yes.
So. FBI was a good group.
Which honestly, you would have probably guessed Johnny the Bull if I did one for him over Relic instead.
I can firmly tell you, I have not ever heard of Relic before.
Yeah,
this is news to me, but
the idea of just bringing up killer spelled backwards was too good to pass up, though. So I had to try and find something for it.
This is a good one. All right, let's get to PPPPP.
PPPPPP.
We only have so much time left.
Chapter 33, the Otogami brand. We get a really cool cover page to start this chapter of Gakwan with his hair wrapped around Lucky's neck. Very nice.
I never knew Gakwan wore heels. Good for him.
He's a very tiny man, apparently, as we get more of an idea of in this chapter. And also, I like, the way that the color fades around Lucky and stuff. Mm-hmm. Cool stuff. We begin the chapter proper with just Gakwan and some of the Otogami siblings just coming across a note from Mimin that just says, "To Papa, bye-bye." So she's gone.
She left behind her earrings.
Yeah. And also a bit of candy, I guess.
Yeah, well, she's nice. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So Gakwan gets this and just goes, huh?
Who's the kid in the background?
I don't know.
I didn't notice that the first time I read it, but there's like a little kid looking through the doorway.
Lucky wakes up and is surprised to see his sister has just like snuck into his room and slept on a pile of money.
She basically has. I also like the Min exclusively wears this outfit of the halter top and the pair of shorts everywhere. She sleeps in it. She goes to performances in it. Like, what I enjoy is everyone else, like, it's not like, a show like a manga where everyone has like a defined outfit. Everyone changes clothes except Min. She's got this and she fucking rocks it. This is comfy time for her.
What a crazy concept for an anime / manga of this person wears the same outfit all the time. How weird are they? As opposed to, it's just part of their, their default character design. Come on, we got to draw this person 50 times every episode. So, anyway,
Ninja's saying it's Reijiro in the back. It doesn't look like Reijiro. It looks like almost like, I don't want to say a little girl because I think this series plays a little bit with gender conformity.
Yeah.
But maybe it is. It's just, I don't know. The hair looks different. It almost looks like the person's wearing like a bonnet or something, maybe.
I don't
know.
So Lucky sees that Mimin's here and she's like, did you steal all this money? And Mimin's like, no. After the competition, I went to Italy to get some things. And now I'm back. I ran away from home. And since I didn't have any money, I just played piano on the street. And people walking by got super happy and just started throwing money around. Thousands and thousands of bills.
If I ever play in Dice Funk again, I want to play Mimin because she sounds like the most fun D&D character ever, where she's like, I just walked down the street playing money and I rolled a critical success because I always do. So everyone just kept throwing money at me until I had thousands and thousands of dollars. Goodbye now.
Yeah, and then she just showed up at Lucky's dorm, and they said it'd be okay if I just stayed for a night. There's lots of nice people in the world. Lucky does warn Mimin that, hey, there's also lots of dangerous people in the world. And she says in response, Sorochika said the same thing. But it'll be all right. Sorochika said he'd help me find a place. But I'm going to be paying for it. Isn't that great? So Sorochika told me that Mom doesn't have much time left to live. It must have been really hard bearing that alone. And Lucky doesn't really say anything in response. But Mimin says, but I'll be with you from now on. When things get rough for Maman, we'll cry together. When she's doing well, we'll laugh together.
Aww.
And Lucky smiles and says thanks.
That's very
Aww. It's very sweet.
I also really like the idea of Mamin being like a regular character, like who just shows up around town, basically.
I think that it may have to do with she is. I get the impression that she must be like a big, huge success, a breakout character in this story, because how can she not be? Yeah. So maybe someone was like, hey, can you keep her around?
Yeah, how about she stays in town?
So she's going to go and visit Sorochika. She says that Lucky should come with her, and then she says the three of them can go and visit their mom. Gakwan has called a meeting because, you know, another one of his children has abandoned him, basically. And
he's not doing so hot when it comes to kids.
No, he's such a great dad, too. I don't get it. So some of his workers are like, yeah, she just told all of us that she was going to stop playing classical music. She was leaving the Otogami house, and she's never coming back. She just took everything that she needed, and she left. And Gakwan says, bring her back. And they're like, well, I mean, but I think that we should just let her do what she wants because she's not going to listen to us. Never mind, you're all fired. And he just walks past all of them. There is this brief moment as Gakwan walks through these very sunlit hallways, and he looks behind himself and sees a tiny young Mimin asking him to play, and he looks briefly sad, and then the image of her is gone. And it's like, oh, he does care. Wait, hold on, wait, one more panel. Because he says, he's taken away one of my instruments.
That was a fucking, that line, I don't know why, but that hit me so goddamn hard. Where he's like, you children are my instruments. I play you like a goddamn orchestra, like Jesus. And
he also blames Lucky for Mimin, quote unquote, abandoning him. Yep. And then we were introduced to my second favorite character in this series all of a sudden. So it is, oh gosh, what is his full name? It's Fanta. Okay.
Wanna Fanta, don't you wanna Fanta?
Everyone thought it. Don't pretend you didn't. Everyone thought it. Yeah.
I don't care if they didn't know that commercial where you live. All right.
Yeah.
Go look it up. Also, make sure you spend a little bit of time looking up the history of Fanta and Nazis, unfortunately. So educate yourself on that. And then the Wanna Fanta song. Wanna Fanta, don't you wanna?
Look, the Fanta cured that person in a full body cast.
Wanna Fanta, don't you wanna? Don't look into us too closely. Wanna.
Anyway, so Fanta comes around the corner while Gakwan is caught up in his thoughts, and he just says, hey, Sorochika's been talking about us, and he holds up his phone that's got like news stories about it, and Sorochika's been apparently in the media talking shit and spilling the beans about how awful Gakwan is to his family and everyone. And Fanta just says, what are you going to do about this? If you decide to banish Lucky because you don't like him, it'll look really bad and cause more trouble. The value of the Otogami brand will fall. And Gakwan just says, like, I don't care about that. It's important to eliminate everything I don't like. And Fanta, to his father, pats him on the head and says, that's not good, you idiot.
I do love that he's power moves his dad.
And he says, look, Mr. Crescendo and the others are going to have issues with that. But most of all, I can't allow anything to ruin my value. They're all pissing me off. Sorochika, Lucky, and I don't understand Mimin. And Gakwa's just going on about, like, if only Lucky had kept quiet. But Fanta says the best way for him to disappear is to not make a big deal out of it, putting on a happy persona while making sure his soul is crushed on the inside. I've got a plan! He says it like that with a little heart.
Yeah.
We cut over to Mimin and Lucky, who have arrived at Sorochika's temple. It's a temple of the Golden Pavilion. And I like that Mimin, like, took Lucky's here, but she's standing in the doorway and saying, over here! It's like you walked there together.
I want every little touch. Like, in her mind, she really is just this 4-year-old who's just, like, walked into a room and she's just like, check out this room I found. Like, we got here together. What are you talking about? I've been to this room before.
So Sorochika welcomes them inside. And Lucky thanks him for inviting them over. Sorochika says, yeah, Mr. Crescendo built this place. There's a really nice practice room in the basement, so I stay here quite a bit. Do you want a drink? And Min's be like, give me hot chocolate! But Lucky has something to bring up, which, of course, he has also heard about, you know, the media appearances that Sorochika's been making. And he says, I mean, was it okay for you to do all that? I mean, I know that I guess I'm the one who first revealed it, but Sorochika says, it's fine. I said all that stuff to force Mr. Crescendo and Fanta into making a move. I don't think Father will banish you right away. His phone buzzes. He looks at it, and then he passes off to Lucky, saying, it's Fanta. Why don't you talk to him, Lucky? And I don't know what this expression is that Fanta is making while waiting on the phone, but it's a choice. That's all I'll say. Just like, ooh. So, yeah, this wasn't a very eventful chapter, but this is a great introduction for this new douchebag character. So
yeah, I mean, I would say this is a pretty cool chapter. You know, I do like the resolution with Mamin and how that whole situation goes. I like her conversation with Lucky and talking about how they're going to bear the weight of their mother's illness together and celebrate the good times together. It's very, very sweet. I love seeing the dad just so angry that Mamin's gone, not because he's lost a daughter, but because he's lost an instrument. It's just such a great line. And then, yeah, I love the introduction of the new son who's just like, hey, Pops, I don't give a shit if you don't like Lucky. We got to do shit about my brand right now. All right, man, that's what we got to worry about. So,
and talking down to his own dad when he's like 15 or something. Yeah. He's so arrogant.
Knowing he's the same age as all the rest of them, but he feels, I guess, like he's a lot older.
Yeah. I mean, it's partially the height, but it is like he's talking about stuff like brand and everything. It's like he's an established celebrity, which I guess he is, but he seems like he's in his 20s instead of being a teenager. So,
all right, let's wrap up Super Smartphone, Nick.
Yeah, so Q heard that there was this thing going on, and he realizes that a bunch of criminals have been invited to a mass robbery by someone else who has a super smartphone. So he alerts the police, and he knows that his friend Yuika is there, and so he's got to go and save her. That one strange police person that we have seen before decides that the tip that they've gotten is a good one and sends out their troops to get it. Q confuses the criminals by saying the plan is canceled over the super smartphone. Then he sneaks into the building with a bat after, I don't know, taking it from a guy who was leaving. We briefly see the super smartphone holder who has planned all this in silhouette. But then he sends out a word saying, no, we're going to definitely continue the plan. Q gets in contact with Yuika and warns her and tells her that they need to move. But then, oh no, a criminal tries to get her. His mask comes off, and so he's like, I've got to kill her, and starts strangling her. And then Q comes in and breaks his arms with a baseball bat. And then he says it to the criminals, if you guys apologize, I'll let you off the hook. While not really looking threatening at all. So anyway, that's it. That's the chapter.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Nick, what do you think? We're 3 chapters in. Do we want to keep it going?
No.
I concur. No, there's no
It's,
follow up to this. This series blows. Now, eventually, I will have to read it from the other recap, but that's future me's problem. Current me doesn't want to read this stupid series right now, so that's what we're gonna do.
it's not just that it's not interesting to me. I don't think we're capable of talking about it in an interesting way. Is the clincher for me?
Yeah.
So
At one point in time, it felt like maybe there was something interesting. There's one moment in this chapter that I liked, and it's when he finds out about the shit going on at the building, and he says to the phone, he's like, "So, you won't let me look up information about it. That must mean the ringleader owns a super phone." And the phone like has little ellipses next to it as a way to indicate that the phone is sort of not saying anything deliberately, to show us the phone could say something but isn't. And what I like is, the ... is there for us, the readers. In actuality, if that scene was happening, like he would be looking at the phone, and I like the idea to identify that and be like, it must mean the ringleader owns a super phone. The phone's like,
or alternatively, it just has a little spinning wheel loading screen. Oh no! I need to load that response queue.
Maybe.
4 not out.
All right, let's talk about Mashle, chapter 108, Mash, Burn, Dead, and Friends, and Training's End. So Dot and Lance survive their training. Matter Ordell basically gives a small bit of like, all right, looks like you guys improved. Dot has a moment where he's like, hey, you're not so bad yourself, buddy. And he gets punched in the stomach with a sand pillar as a result. He gives them both some bread and water and is like, here you go, eat, recover your strength. And Lance is just like, why do you hate magic users? And Order's like, it's the rules. I carry them out. And they're like, so you don't actually care per se? And Dot kind of uses it as to be like, yeah, you could be our friend. You could eat a meal with us. And we see a flashback of that friend of Order's who must have died at some point. And Order's like, no, I've already eaten. But it sounds like at some point, we're going to get him on the good side, evil Harry Potter. We cut over to Finn, who last time was cooking food. Now he has learned necromancy as he brings a dead rabbit back to life. Caldo Gehenna explains, yes, your magic ability to swap things is highly attuned to use as healing magic, as you basically swap more readily cellular tissue for bad ones. And that makes sense, but he says it as a joke's going on that he's pouring syrup into his coffee, and the syrup is so much that it's like pouring out the sides of the cup. And it's like, I'm sorry, Finn can do what now? Like, this seems fucking gigantic. But he's like, good, I'm going to be able to do something for us. Then Ren, what's his name?
Lance?
No, his brother.
Rain?
Rain. I think it's Rain. He shows up and is like, what are you doing here, Finn? Yeah, it's Rain. Sorry, next page he says it. And Finn's just like, I wanted to help. Rain's just like, you help? That's a bad joke. Leave. This place isn't for you. So, family drama. Mash has finished his training. We see a gigantic hole basically punch through everything. And, Meliodul? Yeah, I think Meliodul is like, oh, wow, Mash has exceeded my expectations. And then Mash kind of passes out. He's done too much work. And they're like, shit, well, even with my super special magic, which she says, it'll take 2 days to heal him. Thankfully, we have 2 days, right? And then, like, Hardcut's like, we don't have 2 days. The monsters have attacked.
Yeah.
So
I do like the detail that she gets really, really upset and worried when Mash collapses, because she like rolls him over, like, you've got to get up, Mash, you've got to get up. She starts like smacking him to wake him up, but she smacks him so hard that he starts bleeding afterwards.
I also like they finished the joke because she starts in her suit, and then the next panel after the training's done, she's wearing her dress again.
Yep.
So good joke there. And then yeah, it ends that Innocent Zero started the attack. They're going to call the Divine Visionaries to try to hold things off.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Um, yeah, that's a big transitional thing. Obviously, the stuff with Finn being able to be a super ridiculous healer, it's like, all right, that's big.
That's a thing, yeah.
And hey, yeah, but that's really about it. I think we're gonna just kind of have to just see where some of this stuff goes. Yeah. All right, we will bizarrely enough finish on the Elusive Samurai, Chapter 63, Holy Pillar, 1335. We get a brief explanation of the ritual of the Onbashira festival of, getting this huge column of wood and writing it down. And so that's why it was the inspiration for the big attack that Tokiyuki launched in the previous chapter and now has disrupted Shokan's forces. Shokan, I mean, everyone kind of realized like this fight's over. Like his forces are completely scattered, but they've got to actually get Shokan himself. And Shokan like grabs a sword that has fallen, and he just starts skidding down the cliff to get away. So, and then he also whistles out, so his troops realize what's going on and starts rallying them. So he starts to basically get a retreat and regroup going. So Toki starts issuing out orders. He has Kojiro and Ayako help out the Kamakura party, and he says that he and Fubuki will go personally after Shokan and get him. And we get this full shot of Kojiro and Ayako. They have the light armor on as well. They look cool. Tokiyuki skids down the mountain along with Fubuki. A sword comes flying straight into him and nearly guts him, basically. And Shokan backs off as Fubuki backs up Tokiyuki, and he just says, "I wasn't running away. Actually, I wanted to ask you some questions." And Tokiyuki says, "Well, then why were you trying to stab me?" And Shokan's like, "I mean, it's fine if I kill you too." But he asks Tokiyuki how he managed to predict this, and basically, Shizuku knows the area well. That's basically all you need to know about it. But Shokan also hears from Tokiyuki's explanation that based on that information, he was able to tell where Yorishige should go. And Shokan's like, wait, so he actually was telling the entire army basically where to march. He also asks about the burning logs, and Tokiyuki says, yeah, you buyer don't know about this, ritual. And we kind of get the same explanation as at the beginning of the chapter as before, but all right. But Shokan's like, I mean, this is a ridiculous, thing, but just by being completely ridiculous, he did something that was completely unexpected, and he achieved a decisive victory. And he's very happy about this. He's happy for this opponent that he respects, and he says, "You've changed a lot. What's happened in such a short time?" And Tokiyuki says that he met Kusunoki, and by the way, he's glad you're alive. I'd rather not kill you, so surrender. And we get a flashback to when Shokan had spent some time with Kusunoki, and how Shokan's not actually his name. Kusunoki mispronounced his actual name, and Kusunoki kind of like laughed it off, and he said, "Hey, when you're an accomplished warrior confronting a worthy opponent, then you may proclaim your true name." And so in the moment, Shokan says that his name is Hirano Shogun. And he says, as a true warrior, I will not surrender, even if it means death. I commend your growth and will not hold back. And we get the big Nanbokucho tag announcement where it's Fubuki and Tokiyuki against Hirano Shogun, the Bald.
It's a very cool, fight spread.
Oh, yeah. It's like the landscape is erupting around them, which makes sense because, they set most of it on fire. So Shokan immediately realizes that Fubuki is a dual wielder, and he's like, well, I do too. That's how I prefer, because I can defend myself and attack really strong too. And then we get a bunch of fighting throughout the rest of it. Tokiyuki manages to get around to Shokan's blind spot and attacks him, but his armor protects him. And then he just kicks Tokiyuki away. Fubuki tries to back him up, but now Shokan's kind of got them divided, one on one side, one on the other, and he's whirling the swords around so they can't regroup. And he is, despite the fact that he's outnumbered, his defense is completely impenetrable. He's got the armor on, he's positioning his feet well, and he's got the two plays to hold off any attacks. And Toki's like, he's got no openings. What do we do? And Shokan also brags that the last technique that Toki could use to defeat him, the retreating blades, not going to work this time. And we also get this big shot of him standing, completely dwarfing Tokiyuki, and he says, "Give me an opening to destroy you. Attack me." And Tokiyuki looks all determined, and he recalls some advice that Shizuku gave him when he was getting the new armor put on, which is that this armor is a last resort because it's not very strong. It's got a lot of openings. As always, be ready to fight through flight. And Toki thinks to himself, don't worry, I'll flee and finish him. And he turns around and crouches with his back turned to Shokan, who gets really pissed off. And that is how our chapter ends.
So the start of this chapter was a little rough. There's the panel with Ayako. Looks hideous, like awful, like straight up. Like, have you been in this industry for this long? Like, her legs are all kinds of fucked up.
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah,
the toes on that leg shouldn't be pointing that way.
The toes, like the length. Why are her legs so skinny? Like, it looks really bad. Like strangely weird. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna generally ignore that. And thankfully, the rest of the chapter is actually pretty epic. Like, the fight against Shogun / Shokan, whatever you want to call him, I guess at this point, it feels like a fucking Dark Souls boss. Like, it feels like these are two characters fighting against this dude. You're like, God damn it, stop parrying me all the goddamn time. This dude's ridiculous. And I do like kind of like the intensity of this fight, the way it's sold of like these two against Hirano Shogun. Like, it's just very cool. So I'm excited to see like the next chapter.
Yeah, that about sums it up for me as well. There's bits towards the beginning where it's like, all right, you're just kind of like saying the same thing a couple of times. It feels like you needed to make a certain page count. So you just kind of repeated yourself so that you ended on the right moment. But the ending is quite strong. I mean, this is probably the best fight scene we get this week, because there weren't a whole lot of fights.
Yeah.
So, but it was a really cool one to begin this clash between these three characters. So,
yeah, very, very good.
All right, we're going to close out the recording of the show now by naming our favorite series and MVP.
Yes, so I am going to give my chapter of the week is going to go to Undead Unluck. I thought it was so cool, the idea of just killing off Rip and Lotla, but letting them have this conversation to each other, and also the awesomely kind of dark moment of Andy saying to Lucy, like, don't worry, I'm going to save your mom, but not in this time. Like,
yeah.
She's fucked here, but I will take care of her in the next one. That's great. Like, an absolutely excellent moment. And
yeah,
depending on
how you feel about multiverse theory, he might just be abandoning this world to die. Like, this is a bit tricky. I don't know if there's a chapter that really stands out to me this week in a good way. But if I had to pick one, I guess I'm going to go with Akane-banashi.
Okay.
It's like I say, I don't think that it's a super huge difference, but it stood out to me. It's good all the way through. And it introduces some cool stuff, and also it's just a quality series. So, MVP.
My MVP I'm going to give to Kaguma from Akane-banashi. I thought it was a cool new introduction to the character. I like the personality that he was developed with. I like seeing his different attitudes, and I really like that moment of he's like flashing back for him remembering her father and being like, yeah, sometimes turns out I hold a grudge too. Nice little moment.
There were a number of like characters that did stand out. I like the bit that Shokan has in this chapter of the Elusive Samurai, where it's like, okay, we've come to see, more sides of his personality. This like noble monster, that he is. Um, Also, we got some stuff where, hey, we got introduced to a kind of cool looking villain in My Hero Academia. There's some good stuff in Undead Unluck, this good character stuff, and also, of course, in Akane-banashi. But I'm going to go with one of, honestly, I think 3 different deserving characters in PPPPPP. But I'm going to go with Gakwan purely because I get this impression of he's not acting with malice. He's just a stuck-up kid who wants his toys to work a certain way, and that makes him a horrible person.
Yeah. Oh, he's awful. He's straight up awful, and that's why I love him.
I almost gave it to Mimin because she was incredibly entertaining and also very, very, very heartfelt. It was very sweet. And I almost gave it to Fanta, but I feel like his big moment is still to come soon. So
It was a good one. The audience, by the way, picked Undead Unluck as their chapter of the week, and Hina from Blue Box as their character of the week, which I can absolutely understand as well.
I do. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes. Guys, that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. Thank you for joining us here on twitch.tv/RelloT. We record the show Wednesdays at around 7:30 to 8 Eastern time in the evening. Be sure to keep an eye on the Twitters, the social medias, the stuff. There's a bug. I got it. I actually caught it in my hand. It's mine.
I love how it can distract you like this.
So, RelloT,
gain its power.
Nick F Time, WMR Podcast. Those are the Twitter accounts to follow. We send Quinn will send out a tweet once we're live, and that also hits the Discord server, which you can also join in. We have a great community that does all sorts of great stuff, discusses the chapters in the recap as they come out. There are regular, just kind of fun goof-off game nights and stuff that are done as well. And you can also use it to find the Google spreadsheet maintained by Ninja X3i that keeps track of the MVP and favorite series voting, the series that we have covered previously on the show, and also you can make your own recommendations for future series for us to cover on there as well.
Yeah, a lot of great discussions happen on the Discord server. So, like, even if, like, let's say you don't want to talk about manga per se, which would be weird because why are you listening to a manga podcast? But maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, I like talking about manga to no one but myself. There are a lot of great discussions that happen all over the place regarding completely different things. We have an entire channel just dedicated to good ass cats. People just post pictures of good ass cats. It's the greatest. It is maybe the only good thing I've ever created in my life, and that includes this podcast. It's the one thing that I made the decision on, and it's a purely good look. Let's admit the 2016 era wasn't the best, but the good ass cat thread, that one's excellent. No, go check out those 2016 episodes. I'm sure they're great.
Anyway, what the fuck was I thinking? You completely threw me. I was gonna try and make a crack about. I was like, also, there's a VTuber chat, but Quinn can't attest to that. So
I have no idea. I've been told there is one. It's on mute, as far as I know. So,
anyway. We also want to extend special thanks to Wednesday Del Cheddar and Milo Jack Stillitz, who create the opening sequence that you can see in the video version of Weekly Manga Recap over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap. And speaking of which, that also has some title cards that were done for us by the wonderful Steve Man, whose artwork you can check out on the internet wherever boobs are allowed to be drawn, including his own Twitter account, twitter.com/SteveManArt. And there was one more thing. Oh, yeah. All the different places you can listen to the show. Of course, You can check it out on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. As I said, there's the YouTube channel. And there are also generally anywhere the podcast can be listened to, iTunes and Spotify. So,
yeah. That's going to do it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. That was a great time. I mean, a good episode. That's it.
That's what happens when there's Boruto chapters. Like we suffer, and then a great episode of WMR comes out. It's like,
what can I do? It's our magic. It's our gift. It's what we bring into the world. All right. Goodbye, everybody. I don't have a better end to it than that. So
let's very slowly go through the claw mark. We're leaving now. We're leaving now. We're leaving. You can't stop us. We're leaving. We're leaving.